In the previous part, Gwihan and his team successfully passed the six-legged pentathlon, which involved 5 different minigames. Meanwhile, No-Il was reprimanded by an officer for interfering with their organ smuggling operation. The officer dismissed her concerns, stating that even if their illicit activities were discovered, it wouldn't be his problem. Back in the dormitory, Thanos' subordinate was furious that so many players had survived the game. Frustrated, he ordered player 125, Min-Soo, to count the remaining participants. However, a girl on their team named Sayemi defended Min-Soo, irritating Thanos' subordinate. She argued that the masked guards would soon announce the numbers anyway, and told him to stop before things escalated. Thanos intervened, struggling to recall his subordinate's name. "You're both the same age, right? Namu, you're 97. Namu, weren't you born in 97? Likely a side effect of his constant use of his Infinity Stones. Thanos forbade his subordinate from giving orders to Min-Soo. Meanwhile, members of Hyungju's team bonded and got to know each other better. Hyungju revealed that she needed the prize money to complete her transition, explaining she was still waiting for a few more surgeries. The conversation was interrupted as Gwihan's team entered the dormitory. Most players, except Gunja, were visibly disappointed that they had survived. Gwihan thanked the frontman for his help during the Jeggi game. His team then discussed their incredible success in the minigames. The Marine reminisced about growing up with 4 sisters. Curious, Jungbei asked him why his mother sent her only son to the Marines. The question made the Marine pause, as if unsure of the answer. After a brief moment, he claimed his father was also a Marine and he wanted to follow in his footsteps. Quickly changing the topic, he suggested that everyone formally introduce themselves. Jungbei introduced himself, explaining that Jung means righteous and Keiho means huge tiger. When it was the frontman's turn, he lied about his name and introduced himself as Young-Il, which literally means 1-inch Korean. Gwihan found it absurd that his name was the number he was given. When Gwihan shared his own family name, which means hero in Korean, the frontman burst into laughter. Meanwhile, all the soldiers returned to their quarters. When No-Il entered her room, a couple of soldiers stormed in and began beating her. At the same time, one of the superior staff members in the control center erased the camera footage. The soldiers ripped off No-Il's mask, mocking her appearance. Despite her attempts to fight back, they overpowered her, cutting her face and threatening to cut off her fingers if she continued interfering with their operations. Back in the dormitory, the staff announced the results of the second game. A total of 110 players had been eliminated, bringing the total prize money to 20 billion, 100 million won. Each remaining player would now receive almost 79 million won if the games were terminated. Despite the increased prize pool, many players remained disappointed by the amount. One player grumbled that he would earn more if he allowed a stranger to beat him up. The staff initiated another voting process. Before the voting, Gunja invited her teammates to her home for dinner after the games, confident that everyone would vote to terminate. She believed that her and her son's share of the prize money would be enough to pay off all Young-Sik's debts and even open a small farm stand. In Gwihan's team, everyone initially agreed to vote against continuing the games. Gwihan even promised to help each of his teammates financially once they left the facility. This time, the voting began with player 1. The frontman voted to end the games, changing his patch to an X. However, Young-Sik shocked everyone, especially his mother, by voting to continue the games. The shaman also pressed O to continue. Thanos and his subordinate were eager to play another game and pressured Min-Soo to vote O as well. Hyunju voted to continue, leaving her friend devastated and afraid. Gwihan was about to call on everyone to reconsider, but the frontman interrupted, echoing Gwihan's own words from the previous voting session. "Use your heads for once. You need to survive." then you can think about the future. Jung-dae, meanwhile, stepped up as an informal leader of those voting O. He delivered a fiery speech, reminding everyone how much money they stood to gain. His growing leadership skills convinced more players to vote in favor of continuing the games. As the voting continued, more players pressed O. The frontman glanced at Gwihan, silently conveying that every attempt to dissuade the players would only backfire. By the end, the result was decisive. 139 players voted to continue, while only 116 voted to quit. Gwihan felt defeated and hollow, realizing all his efforts were in vain. Jung-bae also pressed O and felt guilty for betraying his team's decision. Mungi surprisingly voted X, determined to protect his pregnant girlfriend. Gunja confronted her son, telling him not to call her mom anymore. Young-sik admitted he had lied about his debts. He revealed that he owed 100 million won to an illegal casino and had been threatened with organ harvesting his eyes, liver, and kidney if he didn't repay the money by next month. Gunja's anger faded into sadness. She told Young-sik that she knew he would be fine if she died, but if he died, she wouldn't be able to go on. Later, the Marine dragged Jung-bae to join the team during their meal. Jung-bae, feeling guilty for pressing O, tried to excuse himself. The frontman reassured him that his vote wouldn't have changed the outcome. Relieved that his teammates weren't angry, Jung-bae promised that they would win the next game together. He then pondered, what if in the next game we have to kill each other to win? What then? The frontman tried to cheer up Gwihan and motivated everyone to stay positive as they prepared for what lay ahead. Back with Gunja, she asked Hyunju why she voted to continue the games, assuming it was because she needed the prize money for her surgeries, as she hadn't completed her transition. Hyunju admitted that everything was fine until she told everyone who she really was. After coming out, her father cut off all contact with her. Her mother couldn't stop crying. Her friends stopped calling, and she was eventually let go from her job. Despite that, she still needed money for her surgeries, and her debts began to pile up. She revealed that she was a soldier before being discharged. She added that if she made it out alive with the money, she planned to move to Thailand. Thanos and his subordinate confronted Mungi, angry that he voted to end the games. Thanos pointed out that Mungi's current share of the prize money wouldn't be enough to repay the debt he owed to Thanos for his cryptocurrency losses. He tried to convince Mungi, who knows, you could take home the whole 45 billion won. I get my money back, you're free to go, and you get your life again. Mungi mocked Thanos, bringing up his infamous rap battle loss when he forgot his lyrics during the finale. In order for me to win all the prize money, you'd have to die. And why would I bother paying back a corpse? How do you memorize raps if you're so dull? Furious, Thanos was about to attack him, but the frontman, Jung-bae, and the Marine entered the bathroom, diffusing the situation and putting Thanos on edge. After Thanos left, the Marine offered Mungi a place on their team if he was still having trouble with Thanos, but Mungi declined. Before the lights went out, Gwihan suggested his team sleep under their beds, explaining that players were allowed to kill each other between games, which added more money to the prize pool. He also proposed they take turns keeping watch during the night. Later, Gunja decided to go to the bathroom. Worried about her safety, her son offered to escort her, but she confidently showed him a knife hidden in her hair stick. Junhee volunteered to join her, and together they tried to persuade the guards to let them use the restroom. Initially, the guards refused, but after persistent pleading, they relented. At the last moment, Hyunju joined them on the way. Junhee admitted that she had no parents. Gunja predicted that Junhee's due date was very soon. Overwhelmed by fear of the games, Junhee began to cry. Hyunju felt deeply guilty for voting to continue the games. Meanwhile, Jungbei joined Gwihan during the night watch. He apologized for not helping Gwihan 3 years ago when Gwihan asked him for money to treat his sick mother. Curious, he asked Gwihan why he returned to the games despite having won the prize money before. Gwihan explained that he came back to ensure everyone else could leave the games alive. To lighten the mood, Jungbei recounted a humorous story from their time together during a car factory strike when they fought to save their jobs. You were lying there next to me, asleep, and suddenly you started talking. I'm so hungry, Mom. Give me some food. Please. Mom, help. I'm starving. You kept going, just bawling your eyes out in your sleep. Gwihan, surprised, asked, I started crying in my sleep, begging my mom for food, and that's the reason you didn't walk out. This fabricated story made Gwihan laugh, and for a brief moment, he felt like his old self again. The two talked and laughed, reminiscing about the good old days. Back in Seoul, the search team decided to split into 2 groups, each on separate boats, to expedite the search for the mysterious island. In the morning, the announcer woke the players for the next game. Thanos and his subordinate swallowed their infinity stones, making the game more entertaining for themselves. Sammy warned her new friend Min-soo never to try those substances. She supported him and admitted she trusted him, believing he would never betray her. It's all right, Hyunju. As long as we work together, I'm sure we can win this one. Get out and have that dinner. The players were brought to a playground surrounded by doors with a large carousel at the center. The game was called Mingle. All players had to step onto the spinning platform. After a short while, a number would be called out, and the players had to quickly form groups matching that number, enter one of the surrounding rooms, and close the door within 30 seconds. The game began, and the platform started spinning. When it stopped, the announcer called out, 10 players. Gwihan's team merged with Hyunju's group, and they quickly secured a chamber. Gwihan peered through a small window in the door, watching as guards eliminated those who failed to find a group. The shaman, meanwhile, started yelling her cryptic declarations, directing her gaze at Gwihan and the pregnant girl. You've lived longer than you were ever meant to, and now I finally see why. You're here for a reason. You were drawn by destiny. Back in the arena, organ-smuggling guards marked a coffin for an eliminated but still alive player. This time, No Yul didn't intervene. Instead, she silently watched, secretly rooting for the father of the sick little girl. During the next round, as most players trembled in fear, Thanos and his subordinate danced on the spinning platform, high from their infinity stones. When the announcer called out 4 players, many teams were forced to exclude 1 member to meet the new group size. The frontman volunteered to leave his group, calmly stating he would find someone to team up with. In stark contrast, Thanos brutally Sparta-kicked one of his teammates out of the group. Hyunju's team chose to leave the shaman behind, shocking and offending her. Through surveillance cameras, guards discovered a room containing only 3 players, a number that didn't match the rules. Those players were promptly eliminated. When the players emerged from their chambers, Gwihan's team breathed a sigh of relief upon reuniting with the frontman, alive and well. The shaman, however, survived and shot her former teammates a scornful glare for betraying her. In the next round, the announcer called for groups of 3. Thanos ordered Saemi and Min-soo to play rock, paper, scissors to decide who would join him and his subordinate in a chamber, but the girl refused to compete with her friend. Instead, she proposed that they team up and find a 3rd person together. She extended her hand to Min-soo, but he unexpectedly flashed scissors, as if playing rock, paper, scissors, symbolically choosing Thanos over her. Meanwhile, Youngshik and Gunja desperately searched for a 3rd teammate. Before they could find someone, 2 strong players dragged Youngshik away, ignoring his pleas to stay with his mother. Gunja froze in shock, unable to process her son's betrayal. In that moment, Gwihan and the frontman pulled Gunja into their group and rushed her into a chamber. Inside, the frontman gently asked Gunja about her son, but she started scolding him fiercely, defending Youngsik as the kindest person she knew. After this round, many players lost faith in those they once trusted. Youngsik felt guilty for leaving his mother behind, but she comforted him, assuring him everything was okay, even as he burst into tears. In the next round, Hyungju's team realized Youngmi was missing. She had been knocked out while running toward the room with her team. Hyunju wanted to help her, but she was shoved into the room by MG Coin, who joined their team at the very last second, making the group's number correct to pass the round. From the small window, Hyunju watched helplessly as Youngmi was eliminated. Heartbroken, she realized that her earlier vote to continue the games had led to the death of this kind and vibrant girl. Hyunju screamed at MG Coin for taking Youngmi's place. He countered, "That's not true. The door was going to lock the second you went out there. They would have shot you like they shot her. Then we'd be down one, and the rest of your team would have died too. I saved your lives. Don't you understand that? All of you, tell your friend it's true. Just admit she was going to die." Junhee supported MG Coin, acknowledging that he was right. "You wouldn't make it back in here." When they exited the room, MG Coin thanked Junhee for defending him. She replied, "Let's not get confused. All I did was say you were right." In the following round, the frontman predicted that the next number would be 2. He reasoned that with only 126 players left for 50 rooms, the game's rules required fewer rooms than groups. As soon as the announcer called 2 players, the frontman grabbed Jungbei and they both sprinted toward a room. Thanos grabbed his subordinate, leaving Minsu behind. Chaos erupted as pairs fought for the limited rooms. Jungbei was knocked down by another player, and the frontman rushed back to help him. In a desperate move, the frontman dragged one player out of a room to free up space for himself and Jungbei. When the door closed, the frontman noticed there was an extra player in the room. To avoid failing the round, he ruthlessly broke the player's neck, leaving Jungbei stunned and horrified. After the game, the players returned to the dormitory. Thanos and his subordinate complimented Minsu on choosing them in the last round. They began pressuring him to vote to continue the games, suggesting they play one more round to increase the prize. Meanwhile, Mungi proposed to Junhee that they start over once they got out. Instead of offering to help her with the child, he suggested using their winnings to pay off his debts. He assured her that afterward, he would find something less risky to invest in. Junhee scoffed, "Pay off your debts with your own money, because I'm going to use mine to raise our child. What a loser." Observing their interaction, Thanos and his subordinate realized there was something going on between Mungi and Junhee. Still angry about being betrayed by her team, the shaman approached them and claimed to have cursed them all. She warned Mungi, "If you give up now, I'll kill you before any of your gods can." Meanwhile, Gwihan's team discussed their odds of winning the next vote. Gwihan suggested trying to persuade some of the O voters to change their minds, but the frontman warned him it was too dangerous. Some of them, he explained, were willing to do anything for money. The suggestion infuriated Gwihan. "What do you suggest? Just keep our mouths shut and pray everyone over there changes their vote." The two began to argue. They were interrupted when guards entered the dormitory and announced the updated prize total: 356 million won per player. Gwihan's team speculated that the amount might be enough to sway some of the O voters to change their minds. Meanwhile, the searching squad launched a drone to expedite the search. The captain, unfamiliar with the technology, was fascinated by the machine and bombarded the team with questions. "It's a drone. Ain't that something? When we used to go out, you always had to keep checking your binoculars, climb all those cliffs, just to get a look at an island. The drone spotted a hatch on one of the islands, and the team decided to land and investigate. Back in the dormitory, the voting process began with Gwihan casting his vote first. To everyone's surprise, some of the O voters changed their minds and pressed X. Thanos and his subordinate pressured Min-soo again, demanding he press O. O gang for the win. Let's go, Min-soo. Just one more game. He and I had a little chat earlier. One more game. Right, dude. 1 billion, and then we leave. Despite their intimidation, Min-soo voted to end the games. Jungbei grew uneasy, fearing the frontman might vote O. He was about to reveal to Gwihan what had happened during the last game, where the frontman killed another player to secure a win. I'm worried about Young-il, he started. However, the frontman voted to end the games, causing the votes to split evenly. The guard announced that, according to the rules, the players must vote again the next morning. The guards left the dormitory, giving the players the night to reconsider their decisions. The searching squad landed on the island and approached the hatch. 2 mercenaries opened it, triggering an explosion. The team was startled, except for the captain, who remained unfazed. 1 mercenary was killed in the blast, and another suffered minor injuries. The captain suggested retreating to the mainland, but the squad commander insisted on continuing the mission. Wo-OK pointed out that the game organizers seemed to be anticipating their moves, setting traps along their path. We'll use a new radio frequency every day from now on. Cell phone use is completely banned. Is that clear? Back in the dormitory, players were served dinner. Like the previous season, they received drinks in glass bottles before the inevitable fight. Gwihan tried to ask Jungbei about what he was going to reveal about the frontman, but Jungbei avoided the conversation. You know, Young-il, I thought for a second there you'd vote like the first time. I got so anxious when you went up, I couldn't watch anymore. Gwihan insisted. Earlier, Jungbei kept trying to tell us this weird story. Come on, eat your food. Aren't you hungry? The dormitory divided into 2 factions, the O gang and the X gang. The X's discussed ways to convince some O's to change their minds. Young-sik invited the O's to join their side, offering a delicious meal after the game's end. In response, the O's mocked the X's, calling them chickens, which infuriated Deoko. In retaliation, Deoko showed his marine tattoo, but the O's laughed, accusing him of being a fake marine. Tensions escalated as the 2 gangs lined up against each other, ready for a fight. It dawned on Gwihan that the organizers were orchestrating a massacre, just like in the previous season. He noticed a fork in his meal and realized it could be used as a weapon in the impending chaos. Meanwhile, in the restroom, Thanos and his subordinate attempted to corner Min-soo to pressure him about the next vote. Min-soo locked himself in a toilet stall, trembling with fear. Thanos tried to convince him, claiming it was their destiny to press O. Mungi intervened, declaring it unfair to force players to change their minds. He shouted to the entire restroom, exposing Thanos and his subordinate for threatening an X-gang member. Enraged, Thanos rallied his O-gang for a fight. Thanos and his subordinate provoked Mungi by making crude remarks about his pregnant girlfriend, pushing him over the edge. A fight broke out, with tensions boiling over into chaos. Thanos scored a solid takedown, pinning Mungi to the ground and choking him. In a desperate move, Mungi stabbed Thanos in the throat with his fork. Horrified, Mungi crawled into a stall, trembling as he realized he had just killed a man. During the fight, Thanos' subordinate grabbed the cross containing the Infinity Stones and killed one of the X-gang members. Outside the restroom, armed guards eagerly waited, showing no intention of intervening as the players killed each other. In the dormitory, the announcer began calling out the numbers of the players eliminated in the restroom. Player 268, Player 299, and Player 331, adding the corresponding cash to the piggy bank. The players in the dorm were shocked, unsure of what this meant. Gwihan and the frontman immediately realized what had just transpired. Moments later, the surviving players from the restroom stormed back into the dorm. Thanos' subordinate told his gang that the X-Gang initiated the attack on them. The two factions began arguing about who started the fight. Player 100 proposed recounting the remaining players to determine which team had the advantage for voting. After the recount, it was revealed that the O-Gang lost more members during the brawl. The X-Gang celebrated their newfound advantage, but Gwihan grew uneasy, realizing a massacre would occur when the lights went out. Meanwhile, on the boat, the drone operator felt nauseous and stepped out to feed the fish. While outside, he noticed a light emanating from the cabin where their equipment was stored. As he approached, he caught the captain tampering with the drone. Realizing he had been caught red-handed, the captain stabbed the drone operator and threw him into the sea. It turned out the captain was the mole. Hearing the commotion, Wo-OK went out to check, but the captain calmly explained that he also heard a noise and found nothing suspicious, successfully deflecting suspicion. The captain convinced Wo-OK to go back to sleep. Back on the island, with Noyul no longer intervening, the organ smuggling operation proceeded without disruption. The officer ordered his henchmen to keep a close watch on her. He then entered the control center and ordered the guards to prepare for the special game planned for the night, announcing, "Attention! The special game will begin momentarily." In the dormitory, Gwihan gathered with his group. He warned them that the O-Gang would attack as soon as the lights went out. The frontman suggested they strike first, but Gwihan refused to play by the rules of this bloodbath. Instead, he proposed a different plan, to attack and get to the frontman, unaware that he was sitting right in front of him. There's a man in a black mask who's the head of the operation. If we can get to him, we finally can end this. Gwihan devised a strategy to steal guns from the guards and fight back. His plan involved hiding under the beds during the chaos between the two factions, ready to sacrifice other players to achieve his goal. Hold on. If we do that, the rest of the X's won't have much of a chance without us there to help them fight. They'll be outnumbered. Gwihan replied, "I know, but if we don't keep our heads down tonight, it's going to ruin our entire plan. So what you're saying is, sacrifice a few for the good of the rest." The frontman noticed a significant change in Gwihan's character. The once principled man now seemed willing to step over others for his mission. Struggling to hide his satisfaction, the frontman realized Gwihan was starting to change. 5 minutes before the lights went out, Thanos' subordinate swallowed a couple of his infinity stones, preparing for the impending fight. Junhee pleaded with Mungi to hide somewhere safe when the fighting began and to stay away from the scuffle. When the lights went out, Gwihan's group quietly crawled under their beds, remaining hidden as the O-Gang launched an attack on the X-Gang. Gwihan's group patiently waited for the chaos to subside. Minsu, trembling with fear, grabbed a glass bottle and climbed onto the highest bed. From above, he watched in horror as Thanos' subordinate attempted to kill Saimi. Summoning his courage, Minsu threw the bottle to help his friend, but missed. Paralyzed, he could only watch as Saimi was killed, covering his ears to block out her screams. The officer ordered an end to the special game, and guards stormed the dormitory to break up the fighting. While the guards were busy, Gwihan's group slipped out from under the beds and pretended to be dead. When the guards started scanning the bodies, Gwihan's group ambushed them, sparking a firefight. Despite the chaos, Gwihan's group eliminated nearly all the guards without suffering any casualties. The officer ordered the remaining guards to retreat and seal the entrance. However, one guard was trapped inside, and the players took him hostage. Tensions ran high, as one member of Gwihan's group suggested executing the O-Gang for their actions. "Don't you see what they did? Just look around. They're not even human anymore." But Gwihan intervened, refusing to escalate the violence. "We didn't take these guns so we could use them like this." Hyunju ordered the group to collect guns from the fallen guards, and began shooting out the surveillance cameras. Gwihan called on any willing players to join him in storming the control center. Mingle was about to join the group, but Junhee discreetly gestured for him to stay behind. 3 more players volunteered, but Young-sik was stopped by his mother before he could join. Switching the walkie-talkies to a new channel, the group armed the newcomers with guns. Hyunju noticed some players struggling to handle their weapons and stepped up to give a quick tutorial. This here is an MP5 submachine gun. Dyoko's awkward handling of a gun revealed his inexperience, confirming he wasn't a real Marine as he had claimed. Gwihan asked Hyunju, "You really know your stuff. Where did you learn all that?" She replied, "I was a sergeant in the Special Forces." Gwihan ordered the hostage guard to remove his mask and demanded he lead them to the control center. The group began their mission. Over the intercom, the announcer warned the rebel players to return to the dormitory or face elimination. As they progressed, they encountered reinforcements and a gunfight erupted. Mingle, surprisingly skilled, eliminated almost all the attackers single-handedly. The group pushed forward. The hostage guard gave Gwihan his mask, explaining it was needed to bypass the control center's security system. The guard recognized the frontman among the rebels, but before he could say anything, another guard killed him during another firefight. Dyoko fired wildly without aiming, wasting precious ammo and further proving his inexperience. Don't waste your shots. If you shoot blindly, you'll be empty soon. While the rest of the group held off the guards, Gwihan and Jungbei rushed toward the control center. Using the guard's mask, Gwihan gained access to a corridor leading to their destination. They encountered 2 more guards, whom they quickly eliminated. While searching the dead bodies, Gwihan noticed that the guards had extra ammo in their pockets. The officer ordered guards to secure the stairwell, preparing for the rebel players' next move. After a prolonged firefight, the group began to run low on ammo. Gwihan and Jungbei radioed the rest of the team, informing them that the guards had extra ammo in their pockets and urging them to retrieve it. The front man took 2 players and headed out to assist Gwihan and Jungbei, while Dyoko volunteered to return to the dormitory to gather ammo from the dead guards. Out of bullets, Gwihan risked his life by running into the line of fire to collect ammo while Jungbei provided cover. Gwihan successfully retrieved several magazines and retreated back to their position. Meanwhile, Dyoko stormed into the dormitory. "Our ammo ran out. It's in their pockets. I need you to help me, okay?" With Young-sik's help, he collected ammo from the guards' pockets. However, as he stepped outside, he heard the gunfire in the distance and froze in fear. Hyunju radioed him, asking what was wrong and reminding him that they were out of ammo. "Where are the extra magazines? Are you on your way?" Unable to overcome his fear, Dyoko dropped his walkie-talkie and retreated back into the dormitory. Hyunju decided to check on him. The frontman and 2 other players eventually found Gwihan. The frontman told Gwihan he would attempt to find another way around the guards. Gwihan handed him his last magazine. "Are you sure, Gwihan?" Gwihan replied, "It's okay. Take it. They're coming." Although reluctant, the frontman took it and moved ahead. The frontman successfully flanked the guards and ordered the 2 players with him to attack. Just as they were about to eliminate the guards, the frontman shot both players in the back. He radioed Gwihan, falsely claiming they were ambushed and failed. Switching to the guards' frequency, he ordered them to finish off the rebels and headed toward the control center. Hyunju stormed into the dormitory and found Dok-ho trembling in a corner. He begged for her forgiveness. Without hesitation, she grabbed the magazines he collected and prepared to return to the group. However, more guards entered the dormitory. As Hyunju prepared to open fire, Gunja stopped her. Back in the hallway, only 3 players remained. One, overcome by despair, committed the unthinkable with his last bullet. Don't do it. The remaining 2 surrendered, but the guards eliminated one of them. The sole survivor, the father of the sick daughter, was approached by Noel. "Wait, please don't shoot. I have a sick daughter at home." She pointed her gun at his heart, but after hesitating, she shot him in a lethal spot. Gwihan and Jungbei were also forced to surrender. The frontman approached them, now wearing his gray uniform and mask. Mocking Gwihan, he asked if he enjoyed playing the hero. He pointed his pistol at Gwihan and coldly told him, "Now witness the consequences of your little game." The frontman then shot Jungbei in front of Gwihan, forcing him to witness the horrifying act. Gwihan collapsed in grief, screaming as the frontman walked away. With this, the second season of Squid Game concluded, with player 390 eliminated.